Welcome, everybody. We're going to give everybody just a few minutes to join. Um, Hello, Stephanie Savage. On so far for your production team, we have myself. I'll be kind of the host with Jocelyn and Shenandoah. You guys want to wave? Say hello. Yeah, perfect. And then we have Evie. Evie is our EPN community lead. And then we have Brooke, who is our marketing lead, as well as all of you that are joining from the community. We have over 200 people registered for this meetup, which is very exciting. Tells us that it was perfectly timed and it's something everybody is looking forward to. Everybody has busy schedules, so we're just going to give everybody a few minutes to join. In the meantime, though, I am going to share my screen so you guys, if you haven't already, can take this survey. So if you didn't know it, you're at the Smarter Event Project Management Meetup for the Event Professionals Network. We're going to talk about how to stay ahead of your work instead of reacting to it. And you can take this lovely survey that helps us collect some stats of where our community is right now. So we can not only, kind of help each other feel normal, which I'll share some results in a second, but then help EPN be able to help you in the future. So if you haven't taken the survey yet, please go ahead and scan and take it now. And then we'll give everybody just a couple minutes to join here. We usually start a couple minutes late. And then also, if you're just joining us, we think that this conversation is going to be so powerful, it might warrant a part two. And so we're open to that if that is the case. With busy schedules, we'll do our best to make sure that Shenandoah and Jocelyn are able to join us for that as well. And if you're watching the recording, don't worry, we can hopefully have more fun to share. So we'll wait one more minute on this slide, and then I will jump into a little bit of a snapshot of the survey results so far. And then after this session, we're going to take the survey results and we're going to take the transcript from this session and provide some of the details to the community for the folks who didn't register and for folks who registered that want to dive in more and people who weren't able to attend. All right, we're 2 minutes in, so let's go to the snapshot part. If you've been in our industry for a while, you understand that burnout is real. And right now, our average burnout score for the folks that have taken the survey so far is 6 out of 10. And for burnout trends compared to last year, 62% are saying that burnout is the same or worse compared to last year. So take care of yourselves, y'all. And then for project management systems, are a work in progress overall for the community. They were rated at like 5.3 out of 10. They're kind of coming into fruition, but they're not thriving yet. And then task ownership is a little bit murky. The top challenges is accountability. Oftentimes, stakeholder accountability and lack of clear delegation is top on those pain points. And then there is also a pain point of too many tools and too little alignment. So we're spread thin in many different ways, oftentimes on the road. If you're working in certain industries, you might be experiencing a lot of turnover as well, which impacts your job. A little snapshot on AI, 38% are using it weekly, and only 23% say they've never touched it. So we'll talk about AI in just a second. And then meeting execution is actually one of the bright spots. So people are feeling like meetings are working. Saying no is still a struggle. So people are having that people-pleasing tendencies. I know a lot of us in our field are perfectionists and like to please people, which is a huge benefit to helping others, but can be a detriment to ourselves and sometimes even our team and work. The number thing we're working on that's working for everybody is personal systems, templates, and strong relationships. So if you haven't taken that survey yet and you are just joining, be sure you scan the QR code so you can take it. We'd love to see your feedback. But guess what? Our August meetup is also pre-scheduled, and we decided to lean into AI and events. so we can talk about automations and how people are using it in event planning. I just created a whole Asana board, I kid you not, by adding a little bit of event detail into Claude, and it just built everything for me for about 30 events within about 30 minutes. It built everything for me. So there's a lot of opportunity with AI, but how do we use it? We'll talk about it more in August. If registration just opened, so if you want to register now, you can, or we'll send this information in the post-event email. And then congratulations to EPN membership. We have over 12,000 members now, and 47, including Jocelyn, are part of our mentorship program. So that's very exciting. What we're going to cover today is just why event management or event project management feels so hard, where things break down, the systems that actually work, running meetings that drive execution, getting work done, and managing tasks and avoiding being overwhelmed, communicating clearly across teams, forecasting, planning ahead, and managing your energy, avoiding burnout, which is prevalent at this time of year, and what to do starting tomorrow. So, you do not need to do all of these things. Maybe pick three if you're an overachiever, five that you take away from today that you can put into action right away. But before we dive in, I'm going to have Jocelyn and Shenandoah introduce themselves. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Y'all want to say hi and introduce yourselves and share about your experience in the event planning community.
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone. I'm Jocelyn Davis. I've been in the events world for around 8, 9 years now. Primarily focused on the corporate side, but I am in the process of making the move to show management. I start next month. Really excited to be here and really excited to be contributing to project management as it's super important to what we do. So
Amazing. Jocelyn?
Hi everyone, I'm Shenandoah Nicholson, an event planner based outside of Toronto, Canada, and I've been in the industry almost 16 years and I'm really passionate about the logistics and project management side of events, so really excited to dive into it today.
Perfect. Thank you for being here, y'all. They donated their time to help you. They're going to be in the chat. We want you guys to be active in the chat. And just keep in mind, everything you put in the chat, um, we will kind of scoop up all of the goodness. So if you have a podcast, you listen to a book, a tip from a past mentor or a manager, or something you do every single day that is super helpful that the rest of the community can learn from, drop it in there. All right, I'm going to share my screen again, and then we'll get started. All right. So, why does project management feel so hard for event managers in general? So, as you know, you're struggling with multiple stakeholders and you're being pulled in multiple different ways. You have very tight timelines like, hey, we have an event next week or later today. I need this now is kind of very common. The change is constant. We went with this plan and now we're going here, or you have this big budget. The budget just got cut. Um, and then we have high expectations, not only from others, but from ourselves. Because again, if we're in this profession, we often we're attracted because we want to make people happy and we are perfectionists. That's a pretty common thing for event planners. And everything is connected. So there's interdependencies everywhere. So you're not managing just one thing, but you're managing everything at once, and that can feel very overwhelming and reactionary. Um, we'll have Shenandoah. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that I feel and I feel like others are feeling is also that people are taking longer to make decisions. So it's not just that the timelines are tight and there's the constant change, it's that people feel hesitant to commit and the ownership is very unclear, especially working in my experience, tech companies, startups, scale ups, right, where everybody is still figuring out their roles. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have.
Yeah, agreed. There, you're trying to manage a bunch of people that don't actually maybe even have the power to make decisions, don't understand the interdependencies. Just, yeah, there's a lot of that decision fatigue or paralyzation that's happening right now. And when things start to break, there's a lack of clarity, strategy. It's like, we need a dinner tomorrow. It's like, does that tie to ROI? Does this sound familiar? Do we have budget for that? Who's going to this? Do we even have time to get butts and seats? There's a lot of input from a lot of stakeholders, but they're actually not event managers. Maybe you've been in the industry for a long time and you already know in your gut that recommendation's not going to work, but you have to sort of appease all the inputs all the time. There's often unclear ownership and people kind of dabbling, and you don't know who has the final word. It's one person's idea, but all of a sudden, so and so's involved, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't know what's going on. Communication breakdowns, lack of forecasting. So we work with clients all the time, and it's Q2, but their Q3 events aren't confirmed yet, and they're like, we don't know what to do, and that's really really hard for type A planners. And then we have to be on with no breaks for weeks at a time. So you're probably on the road and then you're dealing with jet lag or being tired and coming in and trying to do things and we're the people that take the brunt of a lot of that. So when things fall apart, it's usually one of these and it's not random. Jocelyn, how does this resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I could definitely say, as we're all doing these back-to-back events, having to be on with no time in between, especially, just making sure you have the clear set of expectations because certain stakeholders might be involved for one event, but they might be completely different stakeholders with another event. So this is really important for task management because it also helps to distinguish between different events of who's helping to manage what.
Yeah, so if you're feeling this way, guess what? So are all of us. You're human. And now we're going to jump into what actually works. So I've been doing this for 26 years, and I know Shenandoah and Jocelyn have been doing it for a long time, and same with a lot of people on this call. We forecast, we prepare, we execute, we communicate, and then we reset. Reset is really important for your overall health and burnout. If you get this right, things seem to be easier and you make room for the initial planning rather than reactionary. If you can control it, it'll be lovely. So if something drops as you're going through this process, like right now, we have a million events going on every single week. I can almost point back to all the issues. Was this forecasted? Did we time block to get the work done? Was there clear ownership? Were the right documents in place? Was the communication clear? And did I stay curious? The number one thing is, did I stay curious? If I just take orders and I don't stay curious and ask a bunch of questions, I'm going to head down a path and I might be headed down the wrong path when I should be going this way. The bottom line is, if it's not clear, it's not done, and people don't always know what they want. And so, how many people have talked to a stakeholder, Shenandoah? I'm sure you have, when a stakeholder's like, I want this thing. And so you're like, great. And you go and you do it, you do the thing, and then they see it, the site search or whatever, the location, and then they're like, nah, I don't want it. I don't like that. I don't, that's not what I was thinking. And I actually want to do this other thing. I'm going to do a cruise, like boat ship tour. And you're like, where did this come from? People don't always know what they want. And so staying curious is one of my superpowers that I use. Shenandoah, is that something you use, or how do you kind of prevent going down the wrong road when you go this way, but you actually should go this way?
Yeah, I think it's really tying it back to the why, right? So I had a situation where a couple weeks before a very large program, the executive said, "Well, everyone's doing a party. We need to do a party." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, can I plan a party in 3 weeks? Yeah, but like, why?" And I think it was going back to, okay, well, if this is our budget, how about we do this? And like tying it back to the why of like, well, they wanted more to connect with more people. They wanted to do all of these things. And I was able to redirect it to we can reach much more people doing it this way and doing something in the booth and like spending a bit more money there versus pulling on an attendee base that's already been invited to things 6 months ago that you're now inviting them to this last minute thing, right? So I think tying it back to that why, like you said, the staying curious, how hopefully redirects them to what they're actually looking for.
Yep. And what it also does is it prevents you from having to say no, 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 right? Because nobody likes it when we say no. But you did say no in a way because you're like, huh, I'm going to stay curious about this. Do we really want to go down this path? Is this create ROI? Is it worth the money? Is it worth the time? Is it what are we trying to accomplish here? So let's get into how to actually do this day to day. Number one, how many meetings are you in every single day? I am in back to back to back to back to meetings. If you get into a meeting and you actually don't have a system, and actually let's put in the Slack, how many people have a system in place to run their meetings? That means before, during, closing out, after, making sure that you're all good even down the road. That means in your work back schedule. So just raise your hand if you do, or maybe say yes or no in the chat. This is how I like to run my meetings. There's Mike. Mike, go ahead. I see your hand.
Oh yeah, I just plan them in Asana. It's just what are we going to accomplish? What are the objectives of the meeting? Who's going to have the action owners? And it's all documented beforehand. I have the template ready to go. So as the meeting's going, I'm just constantly filling in this person's going to own this, do this date, and as that way and then I can just send it out afterwards, a summary to everybody, people tagged.
That sounds too easy, Mike.
We do all the work in advance. It really is.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of people don't do that. I can tell you my system too. So before a meeting, I like to make sure there's a clear agenda. I put mine in a Google Doc because our humans that we work with typically won't go in Asana. I don't know if you have that problem on your team, but most of our humans that we work with will not go into Asana. So we put ours in a doc and we share at least 24 or, ample time for people to add their items. The number one thing is to get the right people in the meeting. How many times have you called a meeting and the right people aren't there? Or you're wasting time and some of those people shouldn't even be there in the first place. Try to identify that at the very before the meeting, but if you get in the meeting and the wrong people are there, stop the meeting or have those people leave so you're not costing the team money or time. Make sure you have all of your documents open and prepared before you go in. If you're doing a planning deck, a workbook schedule, Mike, I love that you're in Asana. Have that Asana board and you're everything open so you're ready to go and you can move quickly, so that you don't lose people trying to get into all your files for the first 5 minutes. During the meeting, drive decisions. Don't just talk about discussions. How many people have gotten to a meeting and like, oh, I have this update and I have this update and this and this and this. Your updates are super helpful, but they need to be tied to decisions. Call on people directly in the meeting. For example, Shenandoah, I'm going to ask you to report on your updates. I think when oftentimes event planners get in meetings, we tend to talk a lot. But when that happens, people get disengaged. So you present something, stop. Shenandoah, does that work for you? What's your feedback? Is there anything, make sure she feels involved and everybody on the team that's in there feels involved. Get work done in the meeting. How many people have said, oh, I'll get that to you after the meeting? That sound familiar? And then you never get it. Or I'll schedule that meeting for next week, but the meeting never gets scheduled. So if you get it done in that meeting, share it now. Get it scheduled now. You will leave that meeting feeling so good like you accomplished things. This is serendipitous because it's like, don't run on, but this slide is a run on slide. But don't run on and on and on. There's a way to say, um, you know, here's the presentation. I need your feedback on this. And then stop talking. I know silence often feels uncomfortable. Does it feel uncomfortable yet? But silence helps include other people. It helps them be engaged. If you just go on and on and on and on and on, I need your feedback because of blah 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 blah. You just lost all your audience. So you cannot run on short, sweet, move on to the next thing. Discuss your blockers and barricades before you get off the meeting. So if you have the culprit, how many people have this person? They come to the meeting and they didn't get their work done. You clarify in the meeting, this needs to get done to come to the next meeting, and the work is not done. Ask them, what are your blockers and barricades? How can we help you get this work done? Don't just let them hide. Make sure that they are accountable. Oftentimes we're people pleasers and we don't, it feels uncomfortable. But what feels even more uncomfortable is when you're right before an event and you don't get what you need, and it doesn't feel good for them either. Just define every action clearly. This is where most meetings break down. So before you get off the meeting, and I know this is elementary maybe for some people, but this is such a good practice. And if you put these items, do a checklist like, okay, did this, you'll be amazed. Before you're done, you've assigned all these tasks. You think everybody was listening, they all gave you thumbs up, but believe it or not, a lot of those people don't have it. They don't know who the owner is. They don't know where the document or whatever lives, what needs to be done, when it's due, and what success looks like. Remember that dinner search? Oh, I need a dinner search in San Diego for 20 people, 6 p.m. on this date. Okay, great, I'm on it. But they don't even know what it looks like. Like, does it need to be a 3-star restaurant? Does it need to be Michelin star? What are people allergic to nuts? And they don't understand what success looks like. So you as a leader, because you're managing people so much cross-functionally, that's your job to make sure they know. After the meeting, have a little bit of a 5-minute reset, confirm everything, make sure that all the updates in the systems, your project management system, and guess what? Who does all of this on their own? Most of you update everything. Most of you are taking your meeting notes. Most of you are updating your workbox schedule. Most of you are doing this all on your own. But guess what? You have other people in your meeting. Hey, Evie, can you take meeting notes for me today? Hey, Jocelyn, can you go into the Asana board and update the Asana board with the tasks that people are completing? You can get everybody involved, right? So everybody is part of the mission. And then sanity check. If you're going to meetings and you're having issues with people being accountable at any level within an organization, ask yourself, was it forecasted? Was it blocked, time blocked? Was the ownership clear? Were the documents open? Was communication clear and engaging? How many people go into a meeting, or you know what a good meeting looks like? You've been to them. Pop in the chat if you know who runs a good meeting. Someone on your team, you know someone that runs a good meeting. Who is that? And you know the people who don't. You want to be the person who does. And that could just be like, tell me how your day was for 2 seconds because you're engaging and we're humans. Again, stay curious. Bottom line, if it's not clear, it's not done. Ask clarity questions and stay curious. Shenandoah, how are you feeling about this?
I love it. And it's funny because I am in the 23% that I won't say never uses AI, but rarely uses AI. I just signed up for a Claude account today. But I've started using Gemini for recording meetings and pulling out those key points because it is one of those things that you think everyone will remember it and you think, oh, well, we've talked about it, but like people are on to the next thing. They're probably in back to back to back meetings, right? And so, and even now with Gemini, like I'll ask it, okay, what were the takeaways? And then I'll ask it specific things like I talked about this before we hopped on the call. I'm working on some speaker management stuff where we were doing our prep calls, and I asked Gemini, like, what were the 3 things that we said we were going to talk about on stage? Like, pull it out for me so I don't have to go back and check my notes and make sure that it aligns to someone else's. So I think, like, whether you're doing it in Asana or you're using Slack or you're using those connections, like in those automations, I think like AI is really great at making those conversations better.
100%. It helps prevent you from missing anything. It helps hold your team accountable. Just the other day, I was like, I don't remember how many people were attending this training session. I did the same thing. I went back to the call, grabbed the transcript, typed in how many people are attending training. Boop. And I didn't have to go and ask a question to anyone. I just went and got it myself. So empowering your people with AI recording. How many people record all of their meetings? If you don't, and you have Google, Gemini does it for free. Just go into the settings. You can actually go into ChatGPT and say, how do I turn this on and record those meetings? Then you can take the meeting recap, run it through ChatGPT, and say, give me an action item list. But when you do that, you need to say, I am the best event planner in the entire universe. I don't miss anything. I'm very detailed, but I also want to hold my team accountable. Please make sure that I didn't miss any action items and it's very clear who owns it, when it's due, where it lives, what success looks like. And if it wasn't clear, please help me identify where I need to go follow up with that person so I can make sure it is. And you'll have so much luck moving forward. Um, Here's an example that happened to me. I went in a meeting after meeting after meeting. I worked with this amazing coworker. He was so nice, very attentive, like engaged with me in every single meeting for weeks and weeks and weeks. Very trustworthy, loved him. We got ready to, this is a different story, but we got ready to announce the agenda, and he had not done anything to build that agenda. And I had no idea because I trusted that he was going to get his work done. Same thing with this one. I had a situation where they'd follow up after the meeting, they didn't follow up. There was a delay with the vendor by a week, which impacted the budget and the timeline. Or oftentimes someone doesn't follow up and the venue or something that you were looking at, it's gone. It's been booked. You don't have it, especially if you're booking a big party or hotel or something like that. That's why I get things done in meetings and I document everything. It's like a big bear hug. All right. So we're going to jump into task or stopping task paralysis before it starts. Who feels overwhelmed with the amount of tasks and the amount of documents, work back schedules, decks, Slacks, emails? We are inundated with all the things. There's too many tasks, there's too many inputs, things aren't clear, there's no structure or priority. What it looks like is you're jumping between things, you're avoiding starting things, you get really busy. So, how do you fix this? So, Shenandoah actually said that there's actually an Asana certification. So, Miss Brooke is going to drop the link in the chat if you're interested in Asana certification. We like Asana here. I think it's one of the best project management systems. But if you don't use Asana, because a lot of people don't, and a lot of people use it themselves, but people that they work with don't adopt it. Here's what I do. So, how to fix it. You pick your top 3 things that you need to get done that day. You block that in your calendar so that before you're done with the day, you got them done. You start before you're ready. How many times do you really feel ready to start a project? Not very often. Ask questions early. Break work down into steps. Start for an hour and then stop. Start again in a little bit. Create a template and you can automate it. Use AI. I've been using AI to create my food and beverage orders. I put the menu in there and then I go through the menu and I watch. Oh, I think that'd be good for breakfast. It's more affordable, but I need to add bacon. I don't want orange juice. I want to add apple juice instead. I need to make sure that all cheese and dairy items are on the side, so make that note. I just read to it and it creates everything for me. You as a human need to review it, but AI is so helpful. It's a new coworker of mine. I haven't named him or her yet, but it's a great coworker. And then find your delight in the process. So I often get a morning smoothie, a coffee. Sometimes they'll sit on my back patio. You have to find delight. Bottom line, if you don't actually need more time to get everything done, possibly. You just need a clear starting point. And how many people currently are dealing with task paralysis right now? They have something that they need to get done, but it seems scary or they don't have everything they need to start it. Anyone? Jocelyn, does this happen to you?
Yeah, it definitely does. I've come from organizations that were very involved where we had project management across the board, and I've also come into organizations that kind of had nothing. And I think, as you're going into events, having a clear kind of, setup of if you're doing the same type of event throughout the year, having a task management system in place so that way you can kind of, establish a set template for yourself. I'm very big on having different categories, making tasks correspond with one another, and just kind of having that overall template is very beneficial because when you're looking at spreadsheets, if a lot of people are using that in Google Workspace, it can look very overwhelming if you're just seeing everything in a mass spreadsheet. And having some type of system in place where you can actually break it down by different categories or by different teams that are working on things and you're overseeing it, it really helps make it a lot less overwhelming.
Yep. And how many people use color coding? Green, yellow, red. I use teal if I changed it and I need someone to go in and review it. And then if they turn it from teal to white, I know they approved it. So color coding is really helpful. But really picking those top things that need to get done every single day is super helpful. And then again, time blocking. But how do you create real accountability? So we ask, just generally cross-functionally, I manage hundreds of people every day, every week. Each person here manages a ton of people, whether it's people within your company, clients, vendors, you're managing a lot. So how do you really get people to get their work done? And same for you. How do you make sure you get your work done? Um, it doesn't get done again because there's no clear ownership. It's, oh, that was a great idea. Like the other day I got a name badge approval in my inbox, and someone was like, "Oh, it looks good to me, but so and so, can you provide your input?" And I was like, "Whoop, it's due today. Is this approved? Yes or no?" I need a yes or no so that the vendor can move forward. I need clear definition. And she wrote back and she said, "Approved." Otherwise, I might not have gotten that approval until next week because the person she asked for feedback was actually out of the office. Make sure that expectations are clear. If they're unclear, which almost most of the time people are not fully sure what they're doing. They know, oh, I manage the speaker fulfillment program. That's me. I'm doing it. But what am I actually doing? And what are the processes that I need to do to make sure the team are successful? What does that look like? What are the dependencies? How does that impact the rest of the team? How does it build the relationship or decline from the relationship with those speakers? And then there's no follow up. Hey, homeboy, you got that? You got it? Great. They don't have it. They're getting pulled in a million different directions as well. And I know it's a lot on us to have to micromanage everyone, but that's where the systems come in place. I use a lot of calendar reminders, I use Slack reminders. I start building how many people build their event, their next meeting agenda in the current meeting. Do people do that? Yep, I build the next meeting agenda in the current meeting I'm at, and I do it with everybody's visibility. So, oh, Mike, you're going to get me that next Monday? Great. I put it in there. It says, Mike will get this to me on Monday. That way you're stuck. Everyone sees it. You got to get it done now, Mike. You know, when we go in that meeting, I'm going to ask you. What works? Clear ownership with one owner, clear deadlines, visible work. I want to know, hey, Mike, you're working on this project. Will you let me know when you're 25% of the way done to make sure that we're on the same page for the rest of the project? Boop. Sure, sounds good. Otherwise, Mike is great. He's gonna head way down a path and then he's gonna bring it to me, and I'm gonna be like, ooh, that is actually beautiful for an audience like me and you, but this deck is actually for an executive audience. So actually, this deck is not going to work. There's too many words, too many details. We're going to lose our executive audience on this deck. Sorry, Mike, you have to rebuild the entire thing. That doesn't feel good. And how to do it: assign everything in meetings, put names on everything, ask for updates live, track progress, and create a RACI. Who uses RACIs? Anyone? Mike, you're killing it. I can't see everybody's photos, but I can see yours. um, if you don't create RACIs and you don't love them, create an abbreviated RACI. If you don't know what a RACI is, Google it right now. Bottom line, if it's not owned, it's not getting done. All right, let's go back here. Shenandoah, anything to add? Anyone else anything to add? You can just unmute and just jump right in. Anything?
Yeah, I think we talked about like our love for races. And I'm also seeing a lot of things in the chat about people loving time blocking. I know we kind of moved on from that, but just really quickly, I think I worked in an organization that actually forced us to time block. Like the executives used to check your calendars to see what you were time blocking, and it actually made me insane because that's not the way my brain works. That's not the way I work. That's also not the way events work often. Like anyone ever sit down and say, I'm going to reconcile this budget today and then have like three things go off and a shipment and go missing. Like I just can't work like that. So I think like finding things that work for you and understanding how your brain works and like the way you were talking about, you know, the way that people want to be communicated with, you have to learn that about yourself and about the people you're working with to make sure that the messages are being received in a way that like is actually beneficial.
Yeah. And one thing that popped up this week, which I think was super helpful, was if you're not hearing back from someone time after time after time, ask them, what blockers do you have and what's the best way to get the work done, and follow up with them to make sure the work gets done. I'm not hearing back from you. Would you like me to send you a personal text message? Would it be better to send you a Slack? Do you want a calendar reminder? Do you want a Slack? What can we do? What blockers? What do I need to get you, sir or ma'am, to get this done? Don't just let it keep going. Make sure you pause and you create that accountability. All
Can I
right.
jump in here for a second, Lisa? Because I
Yeah,
actually did
go
that.
for it. Yeah, yeah.
Also, here, let me. I had my video off because what was it? My newborn was here floating around. But hi, nice to see everyone. Um, so when we were at Exhibitor Live, uh, my buddy Mark gave a talk, and a lot of this was about how to solve external and internal blockers, honestly. But he suggested putting a 2 business day, kind of like 48 hours limit on it, right? Like, and it's a little bit abrasive in the communication, but like I think it's a good way to kind of open up the fact that okay, you've hit the time limit that I've given you. Now, what do I need to do to help you, right? And
Yep.
then I have my own. Well, it's not my own. I learned it in a FBI negotiation book, right? But it's kind of like break glass in case of emergency. And again, a bit abrasive, but I swear it works so much. If this person is just not getting back to you at all, and you've exhausted every option to drive this deal, project, whatever it is forward, you can ask them in writing, have we given up on this? Which I know is like a little tough, but for some reason, that language just triggered, like people just don't want to be seen as quitters. And I use it all the time, way too often than I should. But it really does work. So I would say keep that as your like plan D for trying to finish whatever project you started with this person.
Have we given up on this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That sounds, yeah. I mean, honestly, anything that's going to create a human reaction, I think is helpful
Yeah.
because
I mean,
sometimes they
you're
forget.
way too nice for that, Lisa. I can't imagine if you ever said I
I
would feel
don't
so
know.
awful. That's okay.
Effie, put that on my list. I'll see how it feels if I say it. Yeah, I am too
Thank
nice.
you for letting me contribute.
Yeah, of course. No, but I think that's helpful. Like, please, if you have other feedback, please feel free to raise your hand. Oh, Jocelyn, go for it.
I think too, another kind of comment, Lisa, that you were talking about is like checking in with people, seeing, if there's things holding up on like their end. One thing I'm really a big fan of, especially if we're doing like weekly sprint meetings as we're getting closer to events, is oftentimes I feel like we can get almost like robotical when it comes to tasks where we're just so oriented in completing these tasks. I personally really like just doing kind of like a 5 or 10 minute touch base with the team sometimes, either if it's like once a month, just to say, hey, we've got a lot going on, but how are you guys feeling like outside of your tasks? Is there something that is really concerning to you? Are you stressed about something? Because I have found too within teams, if you have one person that is just overwhelmingly stressed and they don't necessarily feel comfortable coming to someone and talking about that, they can actually start to, not intentionally, of course, but dropping things on their end just because they're so overwhelmed. And especially in an industry where we're so proactive on mental health, having those touch bases with the team to see how their mental health doing is super important as well.
Yeah, big time. Well, and you can feel it in your body. When you go into a meeting, you can feel it. And so sometimes our chief of staff actually has been doing like, hey, everybody, we're going to do a little bit of breathing before we go. We're almost to the end of this. If there's stress is high. And she like has everybody turn their video off, does a little bit of breathing, stretching. And that's super impactful. People are like, oh, they feel their body, they get back into their body rather than just feeling that anxiety.
A little
Uh,
mindfulness.
a little mindfulness, yeah. All right. So where it breaks, you guys can read that part, but what works? So how many people get ping, 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 ping in Slack? And that can be really discombobulating for people who are going a million different directions and they're not events people. So bundling your updates, whether that's once a day or even just asking the team, how do you want me to bundle these updates? Using emojis so they know if it's like, can be a little bit, you can answer it later, or I need to know right away. Being concise, use as short words as possible. Don't go boop, 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 boop. Like we try to explain a lot of things, but a lot of audience they just need to know what we need from them. Adjust to the audience, executives versus other planners versus product marketing, etc. Figure out how you're going to do accountability. Don't stop saying sorry. How many people say sorry? A lot, especially for other people. You need to stop saying sorry, um, because we're all here doing our best. Same with no worries. Who is saying no worries? No worries. You didn't get work. You didn't get your work done. No worries. It's okay. I know I say it all the time. I think a nice way of saying it might be, thank you for saying that. Thank you for acknowledging that you didn't get that done. When will it get done? Um, Keep your work back updated as much as possible. I know it's really challenging, but other people in your meetings can help you do that live. Just like Jocelyn said, try to do sprints, which helps force accountability, even if it's just via Slack. Have owners give the updates, not just you. Make them talk, product marketing or design or what have you, holds them accountable. And then figure out what your escalation is and how people like to work. Bottom line, clarity builds trust. And actually, clarity, what we say here is clarity is kind. Not having clarity actually kind of can feel yucky and confusing. And then people, like Jocelyn said, they disengage. It doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to come to work and not feel good. And then visibility and forces accountability. All right, let's do a time check here. We've got 4 minutes left. I want to dive into forecasting. I knew we were going to need a part two. Is there anything anyone's just like, Lisa, this is driving me nuts right now. I can't get so and so to do something. Is there anything we need to dive into before we close out in 4 minutes?
We had a couple questions in the chat early on about how certain teams within a company aren't using the same project management system. So, like the marketing team will be on Asana, but the sales team doesn't use Asana. And so tasks aren't being communicated cross-functionally as efficiently as they could be.
Yes, how many people does this happen to? How many people pause right away and identify that it's broken rather than letting it go and go and go and go and go? I've been on these teams before. It's like can't be held accountable. Sales isn't reading the thing. They're not doing the thing. Well, we need to pause. If something is broken, pause. Um, Sometimes that can mean that between you and your manager, you have a list called maybe like I call mine an oh shit list. This happened. I couldn't control it. It wasn't foreseen, but I need to make sure it doesn't happen again, or I need to wiggle it out. Some people call it a weekly grievances list. But you do need to track it. If there is a snag in your project management system, you need to fix it and you need to address it. And you need to make sure that, okay, they're not going to go in Asana. Why do we keep forcing them to go there or try to make them go there when we know they're not going to go?
And I'll add to that, Lisa, like it's impossible likely to get every team or client, especially if you're freelance or, an agency, to adopt your project management tools. So you do have to kind of agree on how you're going to be communicating. And I will also say that I think sometimes we, as either people pleasers or people who just get shit done, don't like to let things fail. And I think sometimes you need to let people experience the consequences. Now, obviously, you're not going to let something disastrous happen, or you're not going to do something that's going to impact attendees. But I know, and I've worked with sales teams a lot, and we pick on them, and Rich is here, and he knows that we love him. But, everyone, it's always this battle, marketing and sales. But really, I think it's about kind of finding the ways that you work together that they see the results, right? So the example I have is they weren't following the process on getting leads into the system. And so we started removing their events and they started freaking out. And they're like, well, I could have told you that was a good event. And it's like, well, that's not how we operate. Like, we operate by the data. And so you need to do that. So I think sometimes we need to let people, and this is not just about sales, it's about every team we work with. And sometimes it's clients that we need to say, yep, you didn't get to have that thing at your event because you didn't make the decision on time. Like, sometimes I think we need to let people feel the consequences more than we are comfortable doing, because again, we just want everything to go well and to make things great. But if you don't, they're just going to keep, they're never going to learn. They're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep ignoring you and just making your job harder. And it's not up to us to just let them get away with things because it makes their lives easier.
Great. Okay, so we are going to do a part two. I'll work with Shenandoah and Jocelyn on finding another one. We still have a lot to share, but hopefully you were able to take your top 3 to 5 items that you can put into action. The number one thing I want you to do is look at your meetings. How are you running your meetings? And then maybe create that grievances list, the bumps that you're hitting every single week. And then talk to your manager or even talk to yourself. Or guess what? You can talk to AI. How do I work these out? But don't just let them happen and happen and happen until you go crazy, and that leads to burnout. All right. Thank you so much for coming. This was a great session. Thank you, Shenandoah and Jocelyn. Thank you, Mike, Rich, for talking. Thank you, everybody who engaged in the chat. If you'd like to attend the next session, we'll invite everybody. If you want to be involved in the next session, let us know. If you want to talk at the AI meetup in August, you can either register to attend and chime in, or you can raise your hand. We are going to pick a few lovely community members to join us. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stay until everybody drops. If you have questions, I'm happy to, stay on and answer one-on-one questions. But otherwise, thank you, Shenandoah. Thank you, Jocelyn. Cheers, everybody.